So you've probably seen the headlines about the great wealth transfer, right? Trillions and trillions of dollars changing hands. But what if those headlines are totally missing the real story? What if, for most families, this isn't a story of fortune, but one of failure? We're about to pull back the curtain on the quiet crisis happening behind the scenes and reveal the secrets of the few families who actually get it right.
Okay, let's start with the number that just stops everyone in their tracks, $124 trillion. To give you an idea of how huge that is, it's more than the entire annual global GDP. And all of it is set to move from one generation to the next by the year 2048.
I mean, let that sink in. We have literally never seen a financial event on this scale. It's this massive river of wealth that is actively reshaping our economy, our society, everything. But the staggering size of the money, as impressive as it is, can be a huge distraction from what's truly at stake.
Because the real story, it isn't about the money at all. It's about the families. And the ones who make it through this successfully, they get a fundamental truth. Transferring wealth isn't some financial problem you solve with a spreadsheet. It's a human challenge you have to navigate carefully.
So let's dig into these numbers a little deeper, because they reveal a really critical detail that most people just skim right over. The challenge isn't just the unbelievable size of the wealth, it's how incredibly concentrated it is.
Check this out. That massive $124 trillion figure, it's split almost perfectly down the middle. A full half of it, $62 trillion, is expected to come from just the top 2% of households. The other $62 trillion comes from the remaining 98%. And this chart, wow, it really lays bare the reality of that concentration. The challenges that top 2% are facing are on a completely different planet, right? We're talking complex assets, businesses, tangled family dynamics, stuff that your standard financial advice just can't touch. This isn't just an inheritance, it's like transferring an entire ecosystem.
Which brings us to the first big secret. The biggest threat to a family's wealth isn't some market crash, it's the deafening silence at the dinner table. The crisis isn't financial, it's conversational. Get this, it's a mind-blowing statistic from a recent study. 61% of wealthy collectors have never once discussed their art collections with their own heirs. Not one time. Think about that. They've planned meticulously for the art, but not for the people who will one day have to deal with it.
And this quote from a wealth advisor shows you the tragic result of that silence. A family literally tore itself apart over a wine collection. And why? Because nobody knew for sure what the father wanted for certain bottles. The fight itself became more valuable than the wine, and in the end, it destroyed both the money and the relationships.
And right here, this is the heart of the problem. Heirs are so often left completely in the dark. They don't know the full scope of the assets, they have no idea why certain decisions were made, and they're totally unprepared for the responsibilities that are about to be dropped on them. Honestly, it's a recipe for disaster.
But look, that communication gap, that's only half the story. Layered right on top of it is this huge demographic shift that's completely rewriting the rulebook on inheritance.
You know that traditional model of wealth passing from father to son? Yeah, that's quickly fading into the past. The new landscape is way more complex, with money flowing in directions that a lot of family plans just never even considered.
In fact, nearly $49 trillion is expected to go directly to women. We're talking sideways transfers to spouses and then down to widowed baby boomers. And what that means is that women are increasingly becoming the key decision makers for vast amounts of family wealth, and they're bringing a whole new set of priorities to the table.
And that new perspective is absolutely critical. The generation that built the wealth, they were often focused on preservation, tax efficiency, steady returns, you know the drill. But the next generation, they have a totally different mindset. They prioritize social and environmental impact, they're into tech and innovation, and they want to be directly involved. They don't just want their money to grow, they want it to do good. And that philosophical divide can create massive tension if it's not managed properly.
And if all that wasn't complicated enough, a lot of this wealth isn't sitting in simple stocks and bonds. No way. We're talking about nearly $1 trillion in fine art alone, plus massive collections of wine, classic cars, rare books, you name it. These aren't just assets, they're legacies. Each one comes with its own emotional baggage and logistical nightmares. Okay, so we've laid out all the problems. A communication crisis, a demographic tidal wave, and these incredibly complex assets. It's daunting, I know. But here's the good news. There is a clear playbook for success. The families who nail this, they follow a very distinct, repeatable pattern. And here it is. First, they start talking early, when the kids are just in their 20s. Second, they create a shared mission statement so everybody understands the why behind the wealth. Third, they actually educate the next generation on this stuff. Fourth, they plan for formal governance, like a real business. And number 5, and this is the big one, they always put the human elements first. Because all the legal and tax strategies in the world are completely useless if you don't have a solid family foundation.
At the end of the day, this is the core secret. This is what it all boils down to. The families who successfully pass on, not just their wealth, but their values for generations, they understand that the paperwork is the very last step, not the first. The real inheritance isn't the money. It's the relationships, the communication, and the shared purpose that holds them all together.
So, as this historic transfer of wealth keeps unfolding, it leaves all of us with a really critical question, and not just for the super rich, but for everyone. It's not about how much you leave behind, but what story that legacy tells about who you were and what you truly valued. So what is the story your wealth will tell?